We've got Ian Paisley, we've got Norman Baker, and they've got the papers in front of them. And the big talking point, Norman, first of all, is this electric car situation and what's going on at Luton. Net zero plans seem to be in chaos after these sales targets for an electric car have been blamed for the closure of Vauxhall in Luton.
Well, the idea of setting targets is not a new one. It's been done successfully in California and places like that. However, you can drive manufacturers to produce cars. You can't force the public to buy them, and that's the essential issue. And then if the public aren't buying them, and we can go into that in a second, then the manufacturers are facing huge fines, and their response to that is to reduce the number of workers they've got. So there needs to be some drastic changes. The essential problem is that the electric cars are too expensive and people can't afford to buy them. And secondly, people are concerned, sometimes without foundation, but concerned about the range. They're concerned about running out of power halfway up the motorway. Yeah. And that fear has to be overcome. It's not been overcome. So the government has to lead on that, and it's not done so successfully. What needs to happen now is they've got to back off these fines.
So there's 20 grand if you don't sell an electric car to a manufacturer, that's got to go.
They've got to go that. They've got to take that off. And they've got to also, in my view, if they want to produce this element of electric cars in the fleet, they've got to actually reduce the cost of the cars, maybe by a subsidy.
Ian, you like your cars and you like your motorbikes, and you're well into this. Could I ask you, do you have an electric car? Would you have anything against having an electric car?
Don't have anything against it, but don't have one. I think petrol is the language of anyone who's interested in petrol and motors. But the combustion engine is fantastic. What an invention. But look, this is the invention of the future. We need to get ahead of this. I do agree with Norman. I mean, setting unrealistic targets has clearly driven the market in reverse. What we should really be doing, I think, is putting our energies into electricisation of our public transport fleet. Buses, heavy goods vehicles, hydrogenising them or electrifying them.
So you're saying get that sorted first before you... Right.
Address that, and then the rest of the public will follow, because you'll put an infrastructure in place for the public transport network.
But I think what the government was sort of blindly hoping here was that consumers would pave the way for this, that these car companies would be able to reach these targets and they wouldn't have to fulfil their responsibilities. No. And now the question, if we are going to have these huge infrastructure changes, or as you say, subsidies, where's the money going to come for that?
Well, indeed so. I mean, everything requires a subsidy and it requires public money. But, I mean, if they're going to get electric cars being sold, they're going to have to reduce the price of them. That's the reality.
The government gives the transport companies, that's the bus fleets, a subsidy to buy diesel fuel. Why not give them a subsidy to invest in electric vehicles?
Don't get me going on that, because that's something I tried to sort out when I was a minister 10 years ago, and actually said we should do it by mileage. The support for buses should be done by mileage, not by fuel. And they've taken 10 years to get nowhere on it, which is really irritating. I mean, we have got electric buses coming on stream. There is support for electric buses from the government. But the trouble is, they've also put the cost of bus fares up from £2 to £3. So they're actually taking away the market for those who want to use buses.
They need to increase their footprint in that. That's my view. And address this issue of electricisation or hydrogenisation of heavy goods vehicles, and then the public will follow.
Yeah, what we need to get more freight on rail, actually, and that would actually deal with
a railway system.
No, well, we do over here.
Sorry, I was just going to say, Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, Ian, do you think we've seen the last of her tax rises?
No, it's one of these things when a politician's lips are moving, they're probably not telling you the truth. And
it's on the record now. She said it.
Yeah, but this is going to come back and bite. Look, you can only have... This only works for Rachel if there's growth in the economy. And the only way there's growth is if you increase employment and increase productivity, more importantly. But whenever you put pressure on people, on the national insurance in particular, and you see employment either stopping or going down, growth will not go. So she's going to come up against a rock and a hard place, and she's either going to have to raise taxes again, or she's going to be found that this policy just does not work. And I see her deputy has indicated that, maybe she wasn't quite right on this.
Yeah, her business secretary.
Yes.
Jonathan, yes, I know. I mean, the government is sixes and sevens, and I have to say they're unravelling at rated knots and burning up any goodwill they had. And I say that sadly, as a matter of fact, because I wanted them to do well, but they're not doing well. Look, I mean, it's foolish to say she won't raise taxes. There's 4.5 years of this government to go. I mean, who knows what will happen in the next 4.5 years? You can't say you're not going to raise taxes. Yeah. This is a desperate kind of knee-jerk thing to try and deal with the criticism she's had with the budget. And it's not professional.
If the budget had been better thought out, if there had been more announcements of consultations as opposed to we're going to tax the farmers or we're going to do over the old people.
Yes.
If they had actually thought of that a little bit better, maybe we wouldn't be in this crisis.
Well, maybe there was no consultation on the farmers. DEFRA, the department which is responsible for farming, was told the day before what she was doing.
The Environment Secretary didn't know 48
exactly.
hours.
Terrible, isn't it?
I was reading, though, that in the papers, the NFU have been making positive noises about their meeting with the Prime Minister that they might back down at some point. So, and I think even the Institute for Fiscal Studies yesterday suggesting that there could be a workaround where they didn't have to penalise these family farms.
Credibility.
Yeah, and that's what the farmers are saying.
You're an economist in the Bank of England, you would know this, wouldn't you?
The government's saying there's they've made the position clear and there's not going to be any agreement.
No, I think it's every possible assistance short of actual help they're going to get.
Oh dear.
Farmers get a lot of the blame. I want to bring you to this story in the Daily Mail.
Yeah.
Is the Prime Minister a friend of farmers or not?
Well, if my name was Pierre or Andre and I was a farmer, I don't think the Prime Minister would be having a discussion with the farmers. I think they'd be out on the streets. And within a week of protest, the government would be begging them to get round the table. If the protest went on for 2 weeks, it'd be a general election. But of course, the farmers have had a private conversation. Now, the farm leaders have had a private conversation with the Prime Minister. And maybe he's getting ready for a U-turn. This farm thing has gone down
but they've announced from Downing Street they're sticking to the inheritance tax. Everything's staying the same. The farmers are coming out with something different.
Do not underestimate how ruthless Keir Starmer has to be. And if this means stabbing Rachel in the back, he will do it. And this will be number 10 versus number 11. The Treasury went too far on this one. That's the bottom line. Well, the Treasury didn't consult, and they've thrown this out, and farmers are rebelling.
And it's funny, isn't it, how the Institute for Fiscal Studies has become like the arbiter of truth because, they criticise everybody in equal measure. And they've kind of come up with a tinkering workaround that could be palatable to farmers, and maybe the government will listen to them if nobody else.
Maybe they will. But look, this is another example of a calamitous government decision, and Ian's right, there was no proper consultation. No consultation with DEFRA, with the Environment Minister, the day before the budget. And it's the arrogance of Treasury officials, which runs through every government, by the way, and they tell their ministers, you are the most important ministers in government, pay no attention to the other departments. I saw it when I was a minister at the Home Office and Department for Transport, Treasury riding roughshod over other departments, not consulting properly. But look, I mean, the government is raising pitiful amounts of money through this particular scheme and causing a huge amount of political damage to themselves. It's very bad politics as much as anything else.
Absolutely. It's hard to disagree with that. Shall we talk about chatbots taking over our shopping chores? This is in the Times, Norman.
It is, and I started to despair. Chatbots taking over our shopping chores.
What is chatbot?
Yeah, I don't understand.
This is a chat GTP and all, whatever it's called, chat GPT, changing the way we shop. And a quarter of Britons are now using AI, artificial intelligence, while shopping online, and it's expected to rise this Christmas. And the Times, which is the story, is in the Times, asked chat GPT what it recommended for an 80th birthday present, and chat GPT recommended ideas including custom jewellery, a video tribute, artwork, and a memory book, a type of scrapbook. Well, people can't people make up their own minds what they want to buy their relatives without having to get some help?
We're incapable of using our brains anymore, Norman.
Just to get a Christmas present.
Here we go. Get the violin out. Come on.
It's got more than 100 million active users every month, chat GPT. 100 million.
Have you ever used it?
No.
Have you ever used it?
Yes,
it's quite frightening, isn't it?
Brilliant.
Well, what do you say is brilliant? What does it do?
Well, look, you use spell check on your computer.
Yeah.
It's the next degree of that, where you say you write a letter and you run it through this and say, professionalise this. Maybe you sound like an accountant from the Bank of England or something like that. Within seconds, you have
I mean,
it.
sometimes it's not as good as it. So it might professionalise it, and then you have to go back and humanise it. It's not quite perfect, but it is interesting.
It's taken human ingenuity and creativity out of life.
Yes.
It's terrible.
Yes, I agree, but I do think you can spot it. I do think you can spot it.
Oh, yeah,
you can tell the difference.
Yeah,
Smithfield and, the fish market, Billingsgate Fish Market, both getting the chop, 850 years old.
We've only got a minute.
Only a minute, Ian, on this one.
Yeah, well, I think this is one of these things that's going to be missed after it's gone. We're going to go to the good old days. Remember that was there? Remember the market was there? And I think people are going to say that. No, it's a sign of the times, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, is this because we don't eat fresh produce anymore?
Well,
Or
it
is
was
this because
attacked.
the land value of these markets is so high that the pressure to move them out is increasing?
They'll put a supermarket there, they'll put something.
Oh, they'll
there,
put
or
multi-million
or
pound
apartments.
flats. Yeah, the Billingsgate Fish Market's got a great little location in
No
the
one will
city of
live in
London.
them.
No one will live in them. It'll be foreign owners.
It's a land value. I mean, I'm old enough to remember Covent Garden being a fruit market, which was delightful. and now it's
and
something
then the
else.
flower market as
Yeah.
well.
Guys, got to say goodbye to you and see you in 40 minutes' time.